Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are doing extremely well, and I hope you're in the mood for some scary, non-paranormal stories from Reddit. As always, I've got 3 spine-chilling stories for you guys, and without any further ado, let's get into tonight's stories, shall we? Alrighty, so the first story for tonight was originally posted by a Reddit user called thatsridiculousdude, and their story is called You Made the Right Choice. So, this happened a couple of days ago. I live in the suburbs of Northern California with my parents in an upper middle class neighborhood. My parents are away for their anniversary, so I've had the place to myself for most of the week. So I got home from a late shift at work around 1 a.m. I go inside, I shower, and then I head to the kitchen to make some buffalo wings for dinner. I crack open a beer and sit in front of the TV. I was sifting through movies to watch on HBO Plus when all of a sudden the doorbell rings. Now it actually startled me to the point that I actually jumped off of the couch, knocking my beer over in the process. Oh god, and that is hard to clean up. I mean, that is sticky. It's now 2 a.m. and there was no good reason for anyone to be at the door at this hour. I just stared in the direction of the front door for several seconds before it rang again, followed by rapid knocking on the door and on the window. Now, for whatever reason, I was no longer scared, but more annoyed at the fact that some idiot would think it's an appropriate time to be banging on someone's front door. So I head over to the front door. I unlock the deadbolt and I pull the front door open, leaving the chain in place. In the heat of the moment, I did not think to look out the window first. I just yanked the door open. Standing on my front porch was a woman, I'd say around mid-20s, with long, silky black hair and a purple hoodie with black pants. I said, "Excuse me, can I help you?" To which she responded with, "Yeah, sorry to bother you so late, but my boyfriend and I are having some car trouble and our phones are dead. We were just wondering if you could possibly let us use yours." She pointed up the street to a dark-coloured sedan parked underneath the street lamp, and she said, "That's us right someone's phone. She stopped talking and I could barely make out a man's voice on the other end. Now, at this point, I started to feel uneasy. She was taking a lot longer to be done with the phone call and I started to get quite impatient. The whole time she just stood there, staring at me with a wide-eyed expression and a creepy smile that looked forced, while this person on the other end kept talking. Now she finally said, "Okay, bye," and she handed me the phone back. She then said, "Do you think I would be able to come inside and use your bathroom?" Now I said no, and I wished her good luck before shutting the front door. Right as I was about to walk away, I heard her laugh, and I heard her say, "You made the right choice." I looked out the peephole, and she was still standing on my porch, but now she had a man standing next to her. He looked to be around her age, and he was wearing a hoodie and a face mask. The pair then started to circle around my house, banging on windows and laughing. I didn't hesitate to call 911 at this point. They stuck around for several minutes trying to get in through my back door. I had my Glock 19 in hand, aimed at the back door with 911 on speaker, and I was prepared to do whatever I had to do if they got in. Now, they banged on my back door for about 5 minutes before they finally left. I watched them run up the street to that same black sedan that I mentioned earlier, and they took off up the street. Cops showed up a few minutes later and they took a report. They told me that I was the third person to call them that night, reporting a suspicious couple attempting to enter their homes. Personally, I of course don't know what they had planned, but I'm inclined to believe it was nothing nice. Moral of the story is never answer the front door at 2 a.m, especially without looking to see who it is first. I learned my lesson that night. You guys, that is a terrifying story. I mean, you know what this reminds me of? The Purge. Do you guys know The Purge? I'm sure most of you do. It honestly reminds me so much of The Purge. You know, where everyone hides in their houses and then a few people, well actually quite a few people, decide that they want to go purging that night and hunt people. Well, that is exactly what this sounds like. As if this Redditor was the third person to phone the police about them that night. What were they doing? See, I'm trying to come up with something that they might have been planning, but if you go for like robbery or something, surely they would choose houses where nobody is home and try to break in. It seemed to me that they were deliberately choosing houses where the people were home to scare them, or I don't know, hurt them, hunt them. See, the only thing I can think of right now is The Purge. That is the only explanation I can come up with. I'm sure that some of you guys might have an idea as to what their intentions were. But yeah, I'm just stuck on The Purge at the moment. This is wild. This honestly to me sounds like so wrong. If they had made it into that house, there would have been serious injuries, if not worse. I honestly believe that. Also, a word of How I Met Your Mother knowledge: nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m. Is it 2 a.m. or 1 a.m.? Damn, I used to love that show. I've watched it so many times, and they say that in there. Whatever the time is, might be 1 a.m., 2 a.m., midnight. Let me know. I can't check it right now. But yeah, at that point, just go home. Although for this Redditor, that wouldn't have helped because they were already home. But like they say, if somebody rings your doorbell in the middle of the night, probably shouldn't answer. It can't be a pleasant visit, is what I'm saying. Alrighty, so the next story was originally posted by a Reddit user called Gourdhorder. Now, their story is called The Stranger and the Cadaver Dog. An old friend of mine had a canine search and rescue operation and had several dogs that had different skills. You know, we like dogs on this channel. I couldn't have an episode without dogs in it. That was impossible. So he had dogs that were trained for different things. There was one that was trained to search for human remains, one that was trained to search for life survivors, including through the rubble of accident or disaster sites, and there was even a little dog that could detect bed bugs. That would be handy in hotels, I'm assuming. I would sometimes help in the training of the dogs by hiding in the woods or in hard to reach areas, and I loved doing it. Yeah, I would as well. It's amazing to see these incredible animals working, plus I loved them. I sat with them a lot when he was out searching in different parts of the country for actual victims. Now, one afternoon, we were walking through the park with the cadaver dog. She was a beautiful German shepherd who was the face of the company. We weren't working, but we did have our canine search and rescue attire on when a man suddenly approached us. He stopped us to ask if he could pet her, which is not uncommon, and she was super friendly and sweet, so he said, of course, go ahead. Now, the weird thing is that the moment he stopped, the dog immediately gave her signal and laid down right by his feet. My friend and I looked at each other almost in horror because the dog was signaling that she detected human remains. She was the most experienced of all the dogs, and she would not have made a mistake. It was clearly her signal. It spooked us both so much that we cut the conversation short and left quickly. To this day, we have no idea what that was about. I should also add and emphasize that she was trained to detect human remains. She was taught to not alert on animal remains. I still think about that day a lot. did something in response to some of the comments. After posting it in the other sub, there have been a lot of theories from fellow Redditors. Everything from mortician to rotting toes, or even a dead man's shoes, but none of those reasons would have caused this response. And I honestly still have no idea, and neither does my friend who is a professional. I think seeing him spooked, that was even more unnerving to me. He's an army vet and he's been in combat, an EMT and a firefighter, and he has seen some serious shit. So he's pretty calm in every situation, and yet at that moment, he was horrified. You guys, I mean, if you are taking a trained dog that is specifically trained to detect human remains, and this dog is the best of the best, she's the face of the company, right? So she knows what she's doing. You're taking that dog for a walk, and this dog reacts to a random person you meet in the park and is clearly doing a signal. I mean, I would be absolutely shitting myself. That is what, because what do you do? Now this Redditor says that they really made sure that they got away quickly from this man because firstly, they didn't know why the dog was reacting to him. Like, it's a mystery to them, but it can't be anything good because this dog literally is detecting human remains on this guy. Like, now a lot of Redditors have said in the comments, why didn't you go to the police? But I mean, I agree with the Redditor because I've spoken to this person about it. They didn't have any information about that guy, right? So they couldn't give a name. Most they could do was give a description, right? They also don't know why this dog reacted the way it did. Like, the only thing that means when the dog signals is that it detects human remains, but they don't even really understand, the Redditor and his friend, how that could happen on a live person. So it would also have come across a bit unprofessional, seeing as this guy runs his own canine business, right? So I completely understand that. But I would love to know what the deal is here. Like, this is so weird. Like, the only thing that I can think of, but I don't know if that's how it works, right, is that this guy that they met at the park had been handling human remains, like, and I do mean like very up close and personal, and you know, he had the stink all over him, but I don't know if that dog would then react to it. I'm assuming it could because of how strong a dog's senses are, but you know, I don't know, my mind wouldn't immediately go to rotting toes. But I mean, I have no idea. If you guys have a theory, write it in the comments below, because this Redditor is also going to be reading the comments to see what you guys think could have happened. But this is wild. Honestly, if it was me with that dog, I would have run. I would have also run. Like, seriously. Now, one more thing I want to say that I don't know, I didn't really like that much. So this Redditor is saying that him and his friend are taking a walk completely in their canine rescue search attire, right? So they're dressed up with this dog, and this random guy sees them and stops them and asks if he can pet the dog, but he doesn't know that the dog is not working at that moment. So why would you ask to pet the dog? Like, just let the dog this one is also such a confusing one. Like, it almost feels like a fever dream. It is weird. So, this story was originally posted by a Reddit user called Joker from Persona 5. And their story is called Late Night Uber Eats Order Last Semester. For the last 2 semesters, I have ordered Uber Eats a lot, especially towards the end of the day. Now one night I was craving some Burger King and I hadn't really eaten lunch or dinner that day, so I was really hungry for anything, and the fridge in my dorm was pretty empty. I went ahead and placed an order and waited. And I waited. And I waited some more until it got to around 11 p.m. when finally the order said that it was on its way. Now, this is where it gets weird. So I checked the profile of the guy that was taking it to me, and he had only done a handful of orders before this, which, wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. Now, I would notice that after a couple of minutes, he had stopped on a road near my college, and he would open the chat to message me. Now, this post comes with screenshots. I mean, we've got receipts for this. So, the Uber Eats delivery guy messages and says, "Your food is cold. I am 1.5 miles from the nearest Burger King. Which one did you order from? What street? And what number? Question." So the Redditor replies and says, "It's fine. Just bring it to me." Now the Uber Eats driver then messages and says, "What did you ordered is 1.5 is 5 miles. What did you order? I'm going to get it right now." So the Redditor responds with, "Just bring what you have. It's fine. You're not far away." "I don't have the food. I have to go get it." "What do you mean? You just said that my food was cold." "Yeah, blank is kind of dicey. It is blank in the middle of the night, and I think the blanked out things are names of Burger King establishments." Now the Redditor then says, "I don't have time for this right now. It's late. I don't know why it said you were coming here with my food if you're now telling me you don't have it." And now this is where it gets funny. So this Uber driver then says, "I got out of the car, it fell out and I stepped all over it. I don't know how else to tell you. It's on me. It's 1.5 miles away to Burger King. I'm just gonna need to be able to find you." So the Redditor says, "Alright, fine. It should say my order in the details." "What would you like, sir?" "It should say my order in the summary." Now, this is kind of where the conversation ended, right? Now, in those pictures, I realised that I said a lot of weird things as well, but I didn't care at the time because I was so hungry and I just wanted to eat, even if it was cold. But the fact that he changed his story, that was very weird to me. After waiting a bit longer to see if he would keep his word and go back to get my food, I was shocked to see that he continued on going to my dorm. Now once he got there, I stepped outside to see him pull up in his car. To summarise, he told me that he had bad news, that he didn't have my food, but he had something else for me. Now this is where my instinct kicked in, and I got my key card ready to run back inside since all this is what actually happened to my order. At first he said he was on his way to get it, despite Uber Eats saying he already had the order and he was on his way. After a bit, he then changed it to the order being cold and he was going to get it again for me. And then finally he would say that he dropped it. Now I think what really happened is that he ate the order, which could have led to malicious intentions with his box of chicken. You guys, you got to be honest here, right? The messages from this Uber Eats driver feel like a fever dream, right? My guess is that he was using speech to text on his phone, like as he was driving or something. Like, why else would he say question at the end of his sentence? That is weird in and of itself. Like, and it's full of mistakes. But then the fact that he kept changing his story, like this Redditor says, like, oh, at first the food was getting cold, then he didn't have it and he still had to go pick it up. And then it changed to, I was getting out of the car, the food fell and I stepped all over it, don't know what to tell you. And then this Redditor was finally agreeing to the Uber Eats guy getting the food and coming back, and then he didn't. And then he drove to the dorm regardless and he showed up with a shady ass box of chicken. I asked, it was cooked chicken, chicken tenders, and it wasn't one of those, fast food containers. Why on earth would he show up with chicken? Whose chicken was that? Like, this just blows my mind. At first I thought it's just a dodgy Uber Eats driver, right? Somebody who only does it so they can steal other people's food and then never return. But be honest with me, if you were a dodgy Uber Eats driver who wanted to steal customers' food, would you then, after you've stolen and eaten the food, still drive to the address and offer them musty-ass chicken? No, you wouldn't. Like, why would he do that? I mean, me being paranoid, I would probably instantly think that chicken was tampered with and that he wanted me to eat it for that reason. I mean, I can only guess. What do you guys think? This is such a weird story, right? What happened here? Is this something you've heard of that happens, or are you having the same feeling as me where you are completely confused by the whole thing? Because honestly, I am so confused by this entire interaction. Now the Redditor didn't report him to Uber Eats, but is going to have a look into still doing so. I'm glad they got their money back. They definitely should have done. But yeah, he was still left without any food, and there was no way that this Redditor was going to eat this shady chicken. I mean, you wouldn't trust it. Would you trust it? I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't trust it. So probably made the right call there. Alright, you guys. That was it for tonight's scary stories. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope I will see you again next week. I of course want to thank the lovely Redditors who allowed me to share their stories with you guys on the channel. And I of course want to thank you for choosing to hang out with me again tonight. is left.